Welcome back. Thank you. Thank you very much for your time. We're grateful that you can join us. This is the news review segment is Wake Up Africa. Please make sure that you join us with your comment, your thoughts, your submissions, and your questions via socials. My Dominion TV. You're free to drop any of them anywhere, whether or not on YouTube or streaming live, and of course on Facebook as well. Please make sure to drop those comments. My guests have joined me. They're going to be helping us to delve into some of these issues and share their thoughts as well. Do that quickly. Reverend Xavier Damoji is a clinical engineer by profession and also by calling an assistant pastor with the Action Chapel International Teshi branch. We're grateful. Thank you.
Good morning.
Absolutely.
Good morning.
Also joining us via phone, we pray for clarity today. In the call, I mean, not. It's Reverend Nanaya Bafo Bonnie, is an architect by profession, and also by calling a pastor who pastors the Eagles Network International Ministries. And he joins us via phone. If you can hear me, good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have
Well,
you.
I hope your weekend was okay. And happy belated Father's Day to you.
Right, and to you both as well. And to you.
And I greet Reverend Xavier too.
Yes, right. Anyways, let's get into the very first story, shall we? That has to do with the. Okay, so we can roll the very first story if we have them. Let's get into it now. Ghana lost over 548 million Ghana cedis in the National Service Scheme ghost names fraud. 12 suspects charged, and that's according to the Attorney General, of course, the Minister for Justice, who's spoken about that. Of course, details I'll share with you pretty soon. But let me hear your thoughts on that, though.
Good morning once again to all our cherished viewers, and happy Father's Day to all our fathers, especially His Eminence the Archbishop Nicholas Duncan William. With the issue at stake when it comes to the national service, I always say it's an issue of greed. When you look at the Bible, for instance, in Proverbs, I think 15:27, it talks about greed destroying your house.
That's right.
So greed is what is the center of all these things, because fund that is meant for national development, fund that is meant to take care of individuals that have been to school, have been diverted into private pocket for, I call that as a greedy agenda. Because when you look at even the honorarium that is given to national service, sometimes you ask yourself that, how can they even manage with that kind of amount of money? And for us to witness such intensity of greed for the past 6 years, and individuals have amassed wealth out of the needs of Ghanaians, it's a very sad and very unfortunate issue. Anytime I recall what some of us went through when we were doing national service, you know that it is not easy. You know, if you look at even the amount that they are even paid currently, you could see that it's a sacrificial thing. And for the leadership of national service should be silenced, and all this while for this accumulated amount to be embezzled or diverted to one person's account, I think it's a very unfortunate one. With the emergence of the ghost name, how they were able to put ghost names on the payroll and all other things. So it's a good news that at least there have been some clue to know that some of these things are happening. And I'm just hoping and of a positive view that the Attorney General will not just keep these things, but as we are all seeing, those that are involved will be prosecuted. And I when I look at the amount, this amount can be used for a lot of things. It can be used to build hospitals, can be used to build schools, it can be used to a lot of things. So whatever they must do to recover the amount, I think that is the most important thing to me.
I see. Very interesting. So quite a number of details as shared by the Attorney General at that particular press conference. So Clearly, we understand that some 12 suspects were involved in this particular scandal. During the briefing as well, Dr. Ine also spoke about the NIB officials and AG office having worked to develop the docket after investigation into the scandal. Can confirm about some 548 million Ghana cedis lost due to the criminal enterprise at the NSS. Ghana also lost, of course, the understanding is that the suspect, Difti Owari Mensa, used a total of 9,934 ghost names to perpetrate said diversion of funds, use NSS data to obtain a loan of over 30 million Ghana cedis with interest of 23% from ADB, created a company named Blocks of Life Consults with her husband, a lawyer, as one of the directors. Right, so quite a number of details shared. The crux of the matter really has to do with whether or not we have to heed to calls to cancel altogether the NSS. People have called for the cancellation of same. I don't know what you make of that, but let me take your initial thoughts on this before we go into whether or not we can cancel it, because of course it takes a large chunk of our resources. If you're looking at paying about 500 and something times the number of applicants, or if you like, those on the scheme, vis-a-vis what they get, what they bring to the table, the benefits we get from them, people can only make calls that it should be cancelled. But let me take your initial thoughts, Reverend Anaya Bafomoni.
Yeah, Goku, thank you once again for having me, and I salute especially all the viewers and listeners, and also the gallant fathers who are doing their best to make sure that life is comfortable and good for their children and for posterity. About the NSS issue, I have listened to a couple of people comment on this, and I'm inclined to one particular position I heard a respected lawyer advocate for. I think that the story that has run over the weekend, has been that some of these people have actually volunteered to refund these monies. And I think that the Attorney General must look at that option as the first line of action. You see, because if you look at the prosecution of such high-profile political cases in our country's history, one thing you notice is that there's always a tendency for these matters to drag on. Sometimes, in fact, that the lawyer who was talking on the program I listened to actually said it would take nothing less than 3 years for this prosecution to be completed. What it means is that chances are that we are not getting this money until that time. So if we can look at those deals where they want to refund the money, I think that should be the first line of action, because already government is complaining of a very tight fiscal space where lack of money and funds is making it very, very difficult to run the country and the budget effectively. So if we can look at recovery, recouping the money as soon as possible, in the shortest possible time, so that they can get these monies back on stream to help with our country, that will be the first line of action that I think that the Attorney General should be looking at. But the prosecution has its own sentimental value. But I personally do not believe that locking up people will help the economy in any way. Because the downside of that is that, though that may be necessary, the downside of doing that is that at the end of the day, once a person has some political tag, attached to them, if you jail them, you are going to be having to give them even extra special care, because should anything happen to them in custody, all sort of political meanings will be read into it. And some of these people go there and they come up with very fantastic ailments we have never heard of. You know what happened to Chemaun to me? Just a few days. And some fantastic ailment. I'm sure you saw him, saw how he has suddenly lost weight. So this book can become a baggage when on the same state have to spend money on their health, spend money on their feeding, spend money to ensure that they are in best of conditions, so that it doesn't look like we took them into custody to ruin their lives. So if there is a bargain for us to get our money, the bulk of it, let's look at that first. Any other thing can be secondary. As for the issue of cancellation of the National Service Secretariat, I think it's just a knee-jerk reaction that has not been thought through well, because there's a reason why the scheme was set up. There's a reason why the scheme was set up. It teaches people to be patriotic. It helps the youth to fill in some of these gaps in the public sector delivery system. It has so many benefits, and then it teaches us also to learn to give back, because much of our education is really tuition free. So this is an opportunity for you also to give back, and it sort of ingrains that philosophy and that concept in the psyche and mindset of the average Ghanaian tertiary level student. So it's an important thing. There's a role it serves. I mean, even for the president to say that they are now going to possibly look at even some military and all that to sharpen the discipline and focus of tertiary product is important. And I don't think that we should throw the baby away with the bath water. You know, that is one of the things that I realize Ghana as a nation have a proclivity for. Anytime there is a bad situation, we are very emotional about our assessment instead of, sitting down to reason and look through it and be very logical with it. And that's why, from my logical perspective, a country that seriously needs money like we claim should look at getting our money back as soon as possible, and as much of it as we can get as possible, and possibly even make them pay with interest. The prosecution story can go a long way. You and I know how long Dr. Kuni was in court, and in the end, nothing happened. We have seen others that have been in court for endless periods. They go in there, quote unquote, into the Nsawam or whatever prison they are put in. In a short while, quote unquote, their party comes to power, and they are sweeping pardons that are given to them, or sometimes even discontinuation of the cases because the cases was not concluded before power shifted hands. Ghana is constantly getting the shorter end of the stick. We are being shortchanged. If we can impress on these people to return the money, even if it means that some of their assets, they will have to liquidate them to give the money back. That should be the first thing we should look at. And then possibly their names and their particulars should be published in a way that will sort of result in a very clear name and shame situation. That will be a strong deterrent for anybody who wants to engage in such state plunder. Because ultimately that is what the prosecution will say. Really, they're going to jail, I don't know, apart from it confining the individual and taking away their liberties and freedom. It doesn't really benefit the nation directly, because we will lose by looking after such a person and their complex and complicated health situation.
I see. Very interesting. I don't know what you make of the plea bargain issue. As far as I agree, I mean, he also makes the point. He recognizes, Reverend Bafo Bonny recognizing the point that, look, there are some people who have gone to invest this money, stole it from us, made people suffer. Some people have probably they are maimed. Some have passed on also because of these actions, and so there should be a striking of the balance, taking our monies with interest, so much interest, name and shame, or still put them in jail. I mean,
I think the 3 all is applicable. For me,
okay.
the money should be recovered, one, because if you have used state money for something and the law has caught you, I think we should recover our money back. Just that you may not get it in that value because you've used it for other things. So whatever the state have to do to recover some of the money, because if you ask whoever is responsible to pay over 500 something Ghana cedis, I don't think they have that amount of money in their coffers. So they have to be an issue of them taking their asset, freezing some of the things that they have to recover some of the amount so that it serves as deterrent to others. But not just recovering the amount. You have done something that is bad. So what if somebody else says, okay, if I'm caught, I'll give it up. So it shouldn't just be like just the recovering the amount. You have, since the law have caught up on you, it's something evil that you have done. You should pay the consequences. The law should have its way, not a matter of just the recover, but with the recovery also, you should be punished, you should be in prison, and you serve as deterrent to others. That is my stand.
Some custodial centers, of course, community service where we can see you sweep.
Yeah, that is it.
And also for you to be barred from holding any public office in the future. Of course, aside the name and shame and all of that. But let's get on to some news. This one has a lot of legs, but we'll see how we navigate it. Fuel levy implementation date to be announced when indicators are favorable. That's according to the Energy Ministry. The Minister for Energy, or the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition, says the new fuel levy under the Energy Sector Levies Amendment Act 2025, Act 1141, will only take effect when market conditions are deemed favorable. This follows President John Dramani Mahama's directive to the ministers of Energy and Finance to continue monitoring global development before announcing a new date. Richmond Roxon is Public Relations Officer of the Ministry of Energy, confirmed this, noting that the government is keen to preserve the recent gains in domestic palm prices and avoid introducing the levy at a time when consumers are already facing pressure. One of the things that came to mind really, reading this or looking at what's happening between Iran and also Israel is the call, especially with the generals of the kingdom and the archbishop, will always call for us to pray for countries, pray for our cities, because you see, you may think that nothing is happening at Iran. Nothing concerns you about Iran, nothing concerns you about Israel, but just their conflict is going to be affecting you, and that's why it is important that when they say pray for cities and major cities and countries, we do so, isn't it?
I think it's a very serious issue. Anytime you read the scripture, I think Psalm 126 there talks about praying for the peace of Jerusalem, that they that love it may have peace. It tells you the significance of national intersection. You know, sometimes when Archbishop is calling for intercessory prayers, a lot of people ask, well, we have pending needs. Why do you have to be praying for other countries and other things? This is the impact we are seeing. Just them having their disagreement is going to have a very strong effect on the economy of Ghana. Israel is somewhere, Iraq is somewhere very far. But these are countries that really controls the fuel, you know. So we just pray that peace prevail. Because when I was looking at the statistics, if the war advances, it's possible that we may even buy fuel at 134, and that may be disastrous. So this is the time for us not to just sit down and be watching news and say, oh, let there be. No. We have to call our Christian bodies, all of us have to engage in prayer. Pray for the peace, so that, because some of these things have a lot of effect. The moment prices of fuel goes up, it will affect the economy. The dollar will be an issue. Fuel prices will rise up, and it will affect all of us. So I think it's not just a conflict we are seeing, it's a call for Christians to engage in prayer and seek the face of God for absolute resolution, because some of these things are satanic backed. Because if the war continues, they are aware of the effect on humanity.
That's right.
So the enemy is always interested in things like that. When blood are shed and people are in hardship, people cannot feed themselves, people are going through all sort of economic hardship, it gives a lot of joy to the enemy. So I think this is high time we Christians don't just sit around and observe the news, but we need to take authority in the spirit and avert some of these crises.
Absolutely. There's also comes a time where, of course, I started getting tired talking about the African Continental Free Trade, where we now need to look inward to trend amongst ourselves to make sure that we strengthen our trade ties. We have 54 countries, some 3 trillion economy to benefit from if all of us come together. Reverend Nana Bafuboni, I think it's a good time to now hit to some of these things. Maybe I should not stop talking about it now. I don't know what you make of that, though.
As for the issue going on in the Middle East, definitely it will have its own effect on us in our local economy. And we can only hope and pray that things do not escalate beyond that. I personally do not see it escalating into something as big as the warmongers are calling for, because I think for a country like Israel, whatever their objective is has already been fully accomplished. Because I think the plan is to ensure that the Iranians do not have any nuclear weapons. And so wherever they believe there are nuclear installations and scientists, etc., behind that, they've taken them out already. So what we are seeing is a reprisal attack. In fact, I saw a message on Twitter, was it this morning or late last night, that the Iranians actually have offered the readiness to enter into talks with Israel if they would not do any further strikes, and they also would move back and find an amicable solution. I think basically there's a history of Iran sponsoring a lot of terrorism around the globe. So the fear is that if they're able to enrich uranium and have these nuclear weapons, then they are going to be able to use some of these weapons with their sleeper cells that are in some of these Western countries. And it poses a great threat. So much as everybody is making noise and condemning Israel for this action, which is condemnable, deep down in their hearts, they are also happy with what Israel has done, because it makes the global space a lot safer, knowing that a nation that is known for sponsoring terrorism does not have such dangerous arsenal, in their artillery. And I think the government's response in suspending the implementation of the one city levy is quite timely. It's an indication of a leadership that is sensitive, has its ear on the ground, and will not want to throw the economy out of balance, out of gear, and also unnecessarily inconvenience the citizens. We just hope and pray that things would revert to normalcy and we can carry on with our lives. But as it stands now, even though oil has risen from around $60 to the region of $74, $75 on the international market, from the formula for pricing of oil at the pumps, it's quite clear that the effect will not be felt now until much later, because the lifting of oil for the water has already been done. Procurement agreements have already been reached, which cannot be varied based on the old existing price. So therefore, anything at all, if you start seeing the third, fourth pricing window and going forward into the month of July, if this thing should program. So let's all hope and pray for the best. Let's trust that some sanity will prevail in this matter. I mean, I watched the posture of allies of Iran, like Russia and the rest, and it is quite clear they've not taken a temperamental position on this matter, because everybody is seeing a bit of reason. I think even the American president was quick to discourage Israel from even assassinating the Ayatollah supreme leader of Iran, when they had him very clearly in view, because the idea was not to remove anything other than the nuclear capabilities of the Iranians. So I think that's where it stands on the international space. So let's see how things pan out. Prayer is good. Prayer is necessary at this time, and the God who turns the hearts of all men will take charge of the situation and then bring some sanity to this.
Okay. Quite difficult to hear you at this time, but I mean, we'll see. We'll pray for clarity still. Let's now get onto the next story. The search operation for missing students of Laura Senior High School has officially ended after the final two bodies were recovered early Sunday morning, bringing the death toll to 7. Local authorities confirmed that the last two bodies were found in Dil River, about 2 kilometers downstream from the Dikpe River, where the tragic incident occurred on Saturday. This marked the conclusion of a nearly 24-hour recovery effort following the canoe disaster. The students, all members of the school's cadet corps, were on routine jogging exercise when they attempted to cross the Black Volta River at Dikpe using a canoe. The vessel capsized midstream, tossing all 10 students into the river. 3 of the students managed to swim to safety, while 7 others were initially unaccounted for. A joint team comprising residents, NADMO officials, and volunteers immediately launched a rescue operation where 5 bodies had been retrieved by Saturday evening. The final 2 were discovered early Sunday, offering closure to the search efforts.
It's an unfortunate issue to hear some of these things. It's very sad to hear that people are in school have just lost their life as a result of, I would call it, not taking the due necessary precautions that must be taken. This is something that can be avoided, but it all comes down to some of the activities that are being done in the schools. Sometimes these cadet activities, it's some way. I really did join the cadet because of some of the thing they were subjected to. I think they have to look into it, because they are students and they are very young, and sometimes they're subject to all sort of toughness as a result of making them tough and disciplined. But I think we should look at it in a very strong way, because when you look at the way these cadets people are being trained, sometimes they are subjected to training as if they are military people. And I think something must be done about it. Because if the issue is most of them, even after school, are not even absorbed into the military or whatever services, but for them to be subjected to all sort of toughness, tough training as a result of making them very strong or preparing them for the military, I think there should be something that should be done to that at the secondary school levels. Because there'll be some viral videos you see them being subject to some sort of bully beatings because they are part of a cadet. And it's very unfortunate. I don't know really what happened, but 10 of them just taking a boat. What was the precautions? No, there are a lot of questions to be asked, but it's very sad such a thing has happened. I think the authorities should come in. And to me, we shouldn't just leave it that way, that they've passed out, because the parents are in their houses anticipating that their wards are learning and studying, only to hear that they've drawn somewhere. How can 10 individuals just take a boat? What is the capacity of the boat? Who mandated it? Who was the leader guiding them? What principles were taken? I think there should be some action taken so that we don't have some of these things occurring again in the secondary schools.
I see. Interesting. Reverend Anayo.
Yeah, I think initially say you were not hearing me. Is it better?
Yes, it's not hearing the clarity, but of course we can manage that. So let's go.
Oh, okay. All right. So this has to do with the issue of the drowning of students. It's unfortunate, I think recently there was a news item like that where there was a school. I don't know where it was in Volta region or in the north, where the pupils have to swim across a stream to get to school, and I think the defense minister saw it and then quickly asked the engineer regiment of the military to go there and then work on their reach for them, which was done almost immediately to salvage the situation. Some of these extracurricular activities often they are there in the school. They are just part of our system. I personally didn't like the cadet librarian savior, not even because of their rigorous training, but I didn't like those unfortunate early morning wake-ups, and those early morning jogs, because I don't like my early morning being disturbed. I prefer to be in a meditative space, jumping up and down and gallivanting. I don't treat my mornings that way. So anything that had to do with, starting the early morning in an uncontrolled, as you say, in a local balance, giddy manner, you can always count me out. And so I believe that if this trip had to be undertaken, like Reverend Xavier said, it should have been under proper supervision, because you are going on a boat. First and foremost, was it sanctioned by the school authorities? Were they aware of it? And if you are on a boat, what's the condition of that boat in the first place? Is it in a place where it can make that journey? Has it been used for those journeys without that kind of casualty? And where was the boat overloaded in terms of its capacity, or they were even having life jackets, and life saving, with this what do you call them? The ones that swim to save people. There's a name they call them. Normally, you have one such person also with you, just in case there's a drowning situation. They can always go in there, and then they call them lifeguards. Exactly, the lifeguards. So I think that we should a lot of caution should have been taken on the side of preserving human life, and I think it's quite a case of negligence, whichever way you look at it. And it's my hope and prayer that the GES reports would be able to show where the culpability lies, and then maybe if there should be some sanctions taken, that should be done. So I think that's my position on that one.
Right. Let's go to the next story now. The Director General of the National Service Authority, Felix Gyamfi, has disclosed that collaborations are ongoing with the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC, to avoid corruption activities such as ghost names at the NSA. Mr. Gyamfi explained that henceforth GTEC will be permitted to approve and verify accredited universities, both public and private, before graduates will be accepted for national service. Hitherto, this measure, he noted that some universities which do not exist or have no accreditation are accepted into the NSA system without recourse to approval by GTEC, leading to ghost names being created to loot public funds. and so that's it. Yep, that's what he wants to do now.
Put aside to regularize some of the activities of the tertiary institutions. So it's part of their responsibility. I don't know why they were silenced all this while.
Oh, they've not been. They've been speaking about a lot of unapproved,
Yes, but it's
unaccredited schools, including unaccredited courses as well. A lot
So
of big universities are even offering some
most
of these
of them have their licenses expired and other things. So I think it's an issue of being proactive in their responsibilities and their roles. So for them coming out with such a thing, we were expecting that they could have even come out with it earlier on, because the harm has already been caused. We have because the list are usually presented to them, and they sometimes overlook some of these things. So I think looking forward, they should be more proactive with some of these things. They should go to the ground at least. They should just accept any school that comes with list without you confirming whether they are really students or they are just individuals that have just compiled a list to get some money from whatever is happening. So to me, I think GITEC should be more proactive in their responsibilities to ensure that some of these universities, they are coming up. When you go around, you see a lot of billboards, universities here and there. The question is, have they received the necessary accreditation? Are they of the standard? The courses they are offering, is it of the quality that match the university or tertiary standard? That is what we are looking at. So it should not just be an issue of you are regularizing, but there should be enforcers of the law should make sure that what they are saying they are really offering, they are doing really the right thing. I think that will help the system.
I was just trying to go through the functions of GTech actually, but I mean that will open us into a very broad conversation. But let me just speak your thoughts on that, Reverend Anayo Bafoboni.
Yeah, it's a good call. You see, my challenge with all this NSS corruption thing that has happened is that, you see, that's why I say sometimes when things happen as a country, we do not have to have a knee-jerk reaction. We need to take our time and let the emotions whittle down, and then let's think through it very carefully. You see, because if you read Bakoko, almost with every change of administration in this country, when a new government comes, most names issue will always arise regarding public sector employees and some of these parastatals like the National Service Scheme. You see, so then, of course, I believe that GTech verifying and all those things are good. But if you listen to the story of the corruption very carefully, very, very, very carefully, you realize that it's an issue of the systems being compromised. Somebody had access to the back end within the secretariat, was bypassing the system and feeding the system. Look, I was shocked when I found out one single individual who was verified had been registered 266 times in one single year under the National Service Scheme. What can GTech do about that? So I think that the National Service Scheme must, number one, invest in some of these foolproof systems that automatically proves these things out within their IT infrastructure and IT architecture. If you do not do that, you can be doing all these verifications going on, and then you still end up with a bloated, National Service rule, which has been infiltrated. So I think it is a lot more of an IT problem beyond just the issue of verification of particulars, courses, and schools. Because if you watch, there were people that were past 60 years and they were still on the scheme. I don't know how GTech can fish that thing out. So I think that there's a lot of hue and cry. It's easy to pass the buck and all that. But if we want to sit down and analyze very carefully and closely, I think that the IT infrastructure and architecture of the National Service Scheme needs to be looked at. We need some serious crack IT guys that will be able to see the loopholes, and they themselves must be incorruptible people who have signed contracts, even if it's possible, to have an external, body working in concert to the IT department in-house of the Secretariat. Then we can look at it. So for For instance, we can make it very clear that if some of these things, leakages happen, people are able to infiltrate the system, and all your contracts will be terminated, and you'll be prosecuted for being complicit. And let us watch how the things play out. You see, because it is within our state apparatus, and that is where the chess ball and the corruption football is being played. So if the architecture of the National Service Secretariat database can be strengthened in such a way that it's impregnable and impervious to a very large extent, you can cut back on some of these things.
Right, okay. Let's go to our very final story. 19 arrested in raid on drug and robbery dens at Kaswa Dominasi Onion Market. 19 suspects have been arrested in a police operation targeting illicit drug trade and robbery activities at Kaswa, the Kaswa Dominasi Enclave, and Onion Market in the Central Region. The Central East Regional Police Command, in a statement, said the special operation was carried out on Wednesday, June 12, 2025, as part of a broader effort to clamp down on growing criminal activity in the area. The suspects arrested include lots of names here, 19 of them. Exhibits retrieved during the operation include large quantities of substances suspected to be Indian hemp and a range of controlled pharmaceutical drugs, including tramadol and red. All 19 suspects are currently in police custody and assisting with investigations. Authorities say they will be put before court in due course.
That's a good thing that the police have done, the Ghana Police Service. They've done a good one over there. I think some of these communities are there to the glares of the general public, and we all know some of the places that some of these activities are. So for them to take such an operation and to apprehend those that are involved in some of these things, I think it's a good one that they should be encouraged to be doing. Because in most of the communities, you see some of these places and everybody is aware that these are where the people are. So it's not that they are not informed, but sometimes people do some of these things at the blind side of the police. I think it's high time that when we notice some of these activities, we should do our best to inform the police that 1 or 2 or 3 is happening here. But my question is, the spot, these are specific places that frequently arrests have been taking place. When you look at some of these places, they go there almost every year or every 6 months. They are able to raid the people. So if you arrest them, you prosecute them, and you just leave them, what happens? They come back again. So I think that apart from just the normal arrest that we see, apart from the prosecution that is taking place, some of the places that we know that they are dens that have been associated with criminals. This is where they are housed. These are places that some of the slum areas that you see these criminals' activities, all these sex workers are, and all sort of things. We shouldn't just leave it, just go and arrest them 1 or 2 days and leave them to come back. No, I think that some of these places, the government should come in. Some of the places we should totally, how will I even say it? They should destroy them. Because some of the places, when you go to it, you know very well that this place is just a den of criminals. So I think the police should not just be doing one, let me say, an annual arrest, but it should be frequent. The places should be, because it's not all the people that were arrested. Some of them may have escaped and they will come back again. So there should be regular patrol at some of these places so that we don't witness some of the robbery, some of the killings that are taking place. Because when these people, they go high and they don't have money, they just do anything to make sure that they survive. So when the police are going out, you have police patrol going around, making sure that people are not just taking advantage of them or this hideout to do their wicked activities. It will help the general public.
See. Reverend Nanayao.
Well, much as I appreciate the work of the police in, arresting these communities that abuse drugs, I believe strongly that the issue is a supply issue. You see, it's a supply issue. Once there is supply, there will be demand. So I think if we can strengthen our efforts in ensuring that these drugs they abuse are not even available, we solve the problem. Because the Reverend Savior said, I know places around Medina, the places around Nima Kanda, Osuari, where I grew up, they have been ghettos for drug abuse, and even in Labani for years. Look, I'm past my mid-40s, right? For as long as I can remember, when I was a little child under 10 years old, some of these ghettos have been functioning, you know. So and the swoops have gone on over the years, and it seems not to be changing. And I can feel the frustration, very serious voice, because I also feel and sense that same frustration. You see, so if we can start to look at strengthening how to cut out supply, red is coming into this country, strengthen the borders to ensure that some of these contraband goods don't come. We should stop custom officers accepting price and allowing these things into the country. Our FDA should be able to release their task force into town to be looking around where some of these supplies are, you know, and let's like Reverend Sylvia said, let's be more proactive in our posture than reactionary. Because next year, a few months from now, or next year by this time, we'll hear another breaking story that police are going to do a swoop. And then to what end? And oftentimes, if we are going to publish pictures of these people that are arrested, their faces and the names are recurring. Or they go in for a short period of time, they come back and they are back to it, because even during the time in the prison custody, there are no clear programs for psychiatrists and some of these psychologists even to treat and reform them. You know, they just have the supply curtailed because their freedom is curtailed. So when they come, appetite is still there. They find their ways to the very places where supply is. And then, bam, we are back into the cycle. And they even recruit new people like they are making disciples. And then, you know, they're just getting worse off. So I think that we should strengthen our efforts on cutting off the supply bit. You know, and I remember that's one of the reasons why President Trump had a serious tariff war with Canada and Mexico, because he was saying fentanyl, they realized, was coming from the borders of these two countries in large groups, and then the tariff was to serve as a deterrent that if you are not going to deal with it, we are going to tariff you until it starts to affect your economy. I'm not saying we should do that, but what I'm saying is that, and I'm not even saying it's the right thing to do, but what I'm saying is that sometimes those are some of the pragmatic things you are doing to make sure that, you know, these subjects are effectively interrupted.
Right. Anyways, thank you very, very, very much. But before we go, this is just by way of information. And this is from the Ghana Education Service. This is a particular circular that has to do with the extension of the school selection period. Management of the Ghana Education Service wishes to inform all heads of junior high schools that the deadline for the school selection process has been extended to Wednesday, 25th June 2025. This extension has become necessary due to the inclusion of private senior high schools, SHSs, in the selection process, allowing candidates additional time to make well-informed choices. Please note that all existing guidelines and procedures for the school selection process remain unchanged. Students are strongly encouraged to consult with their teachers, parents, and guardians to make informed and thoughtful decisions regarding their second cycle in school education. Regional directors are by this letter kindly to communicate this updated deadline to all Metro Municipal District Directors of Education to bring this to the attention of final year JHS students through their respective head teachers and encourage them to take full advantage of the extended period to carefully review and select their preferred schools. For a reference supplementary register of second cycle schools of the newly added private schools has been attached, and this is signed by Prince C. Ajimendia, who is Director, Schools and Instructions Division, signing for the Acting Director General. And so that ends the news review segment. We're grateful. Thank you very much. Reverend Xavier Demoji is a clinical engineer by profession, of course, by calling, an assistant pastor with Ashton Chapel International Teshi branch. Also via phone, Reverend Nanaya Bafo Bonnie is an architect by profession and also a calling pastor with the Eagles Network International Ministries. We're grateful. Thank you very much. Belated Happy Father's Day to you. Wish you all the best in the week. And of course, to you, thanks for joining. Coming up, Tech and Trends, and of course, we have that conversation with Mami Kwa Gezi on, if you like, what to do with your goals, even as we get into the next 6 months. Stay with us.